Well, hello and welcome to Perfectly Twisted. It's Nicole Eggert here and my good friend Dave Palais.
Good to see you, Nicole, as
Good to
always.
see you. Good to see you. For us, it's Wednesday. We're recording, so Thanksgiving's tomorrow. So we were just catching up on all of that nightmare.
You know what? I almost wish we talk about reality TV all the time. I almost wish they had cameras in every dining room because there are going to be major arguments and fights this Thanksgiving across the country. Like I kind of just want to watch it.
As if there isn't already every year,
Yeah,
right? Like
this is a
people
whole
start
nother
out
level.
well, and then they get a few
Yeah.
drinks in them, and then they're throwing things at
Oh,
each other.
oh yeah.
I know. I was just seeing something on the news. They were saying they were taking a poll, like, is it okay to set rules, like,
Yeah. Yeah.
otherwise dinner's to go.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I like you could either play a drinking game by watching this, or we were joking around saying even us, we have a bunch of people coming over and both sides, just like most people, who are like, how quickly do you hear the word racist or bigot? Does that come out? Because it's happening at tables. At what point do you just say, I'm walking out? It's going to be kind of crazy. You just hope it doesn't get people actually throwing punches and in family relationships. It's interesting.
Well, I don't even think that's something new. This is something that happens at holiday gatherings, which I don't understand. What is it about? What exactly is it about the holiday gathering that makes people start talking politics and finances and religion? It's so weird.
You know what it is, Nicole? I think about this all the time too. Is we don't pick our family. We pick our friends, but we don't pick our family, and we're kind of stuck with each other at the holidays. And then everything we never liked about them to begin with, it all comes out on those big dinners. A little bit of drinks, next thing you know, everything comes out.
Yeah, and I guess in the back of your mind, you're not supposed to bring it up. So anybody that's like a rule breaker or rebelling, yeah.
Yeah, twist the knife. This guy never liked you before. I don't like the way you talk with your mouth full. I don't like anything. There's a reason why I moved out when we shared a room. The whole deal. Everything just comes out. And said, that's it. I'm going after this person.
Yeah, I guess so. Well, let that not be in our homes. It certainly won't be in mine. Oh, Lord. But we've got a great guest today. I'm super excited to speak with our guest today because I've been a big fan for many, many years. And well, huge blogger, kind of was the pioneer of celebrity gossip sites, like that wasn't really such a thing. And he came on the scene and tossed that world on its head. So let's introduce Perez Hilton.
Hello.
Hello. Hello.
I
Welcome.
am gonna be on my best behavior because, you know, I am a guest on your show, even though I want to ask you so many questions. But I will keep that all in the back of my brain. But if I do really want to ask something, I will. That's a
Okay.
great conversation. It's a back and forth. But I'm so
Absolutely.
thankful to be here and appreciate you and
Oh,
all
I'm
that you do and all that you share. And I think you're not just talented but very inspiring. And I'm excited to get to know your co-host.
yeah,
Nice to meet
he's
you,
great.
Chris.
He's great. He's more of like a sports guy.
I
Yeah.
don't know much about that.
No, me neither. Me neither. But the one place we relate is Housewives. So he's a Housewife fan.
I'm a
So
huge reality TV fan.
All
yeah.
right, they just announced that they're rebooting Vanderpump Rules, an entire new cast.
Oh, are they? Oh, I'm so
Next
excited
season.
by this.
Are you? That's interesting because I was thinking about that. Like I think what made that show work was the cast, not the concept, because there's nothing
Agree.
really special about the concept. Oh, people are working at this restaurant. Like, who cares? It was that group of people that really made it click. But maybe they can find magic a second time. It's possible. They
Well,
rebooted they rebooted New York Housewives, and that's not done very well.
no, we hate that. We don't like that show. We're bored to death with that show. Well, here's the thing, though. So like, you're bringing up a good point. If they are going off Lisa Vanderpump's ability to pick, then I think they could have another hit on their hands. Because I really kind of did like the concept because they're like up and coming and they're so young. Because I thought the next best thing we have, since we didn't have Vanderpump anymore, was Southern Hospitality. So I've been looking forward to Southern Hospitality coming back for season 2.
Did you watch that one show of Lisa's at the chateau in France?
Yes, I did.
Vanderpump Villa. Was that any good?
Um, a lot of it was a little over the top because I think these people go into it almost acting now. But I tuned in for every episode, so
All
I
right.
watched.
Okay.
I watched, but I love anything Lisa Vanderpump. So you know,
Have you done reality TV before?
not like that. I've done a few like reality contestant nightmare
Oh,
things.
okay. Sure, sure. I have as well. They were
Yeah,
nightmares.
nightmares. It's
Yeah.
different, right? It's such a
Well,
different
the worst
platform.
one that I did was Celebrity Big Brother UK, and I thought, oh, it'll be fun, it'll be easy, it'll be fun because I'd seen Big Brother US, but the British version, the Celebrity British version, is a totally different experience. Like they want people to fight, and it was just like a nightmare. I thought I was like, okay, I'll get voted off early. I'll be there maybe like a week and a half, 2 weeks. I was stuck in there for 4 weeks, and it was a nightmare.
A nightmare. Yeah, because the Brits want all the gossip. I mean, they want all the fighting and the bickering and all of
Well,
that.
and I didn't know, the British folks have a rich tradition of this thing called pantomime, which is kind of like musical theater here, but different. And, it's about villains and heroes, and all of the British celebrities that went into Celebrity Big Brother UK knew what they were signing up for. I just read the Wikipedia and I'm like, oh, it seems simple. It seems easy. Oh, this challenge, whatever, whatever. Oh my God. It was a nightmare. I was stuck in there with this evil woman who I guess maybe like the best way to describe her is like a British Ann Coulter, but worse.
Oh, okay.
Worse, yeah. And
Oh,
it was terrible because I now know why all these other people did that. Like I'd never done a show like that before, and I was like, oh my God, these people are all popping pills. Now I know if I do another show like that, I'm going to be popping pills too. They all went with medic anxiety. Now I actually that's not when I went. I did a few years after Celebrity Big Brother UK. I did I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here Australia, and I took sleeping medication with me. I normally don't have any problems sleeping, but that was one of the problems when I did Celebrity Big Brother UK. You're fighting, and it's like your brain is racing, and your endorphins and the serotonin, and I could not shut my brain off at night at all, and I couldn't sleep. And after many days of not sleeping, you start to go crazy. I literally was very unwell in that house. So, I'm a celeb, get me out of here. Australia was a piece of cake because I was rested. And I even like the challenges, like I had to bungee jump twice. I had to eat cow testicles and like the most disgust, drink like a insect milkshake and just the worst things. But it was heaven compared to the 4 weeks of torture in the UK.
because didn't you sleep outside in Australia
Yeah.
on that? Are you kidding? That sounds like my worst nightmare come to life. That
Well, we
oh my
filmed it. It was for Australia, but we filmed it at Kruger National Park in South Africa, and it was so funny because when I wrapped, I got on. I was in the jungle for that one. I only did 2 weeks. I was in the jungle for about 2 weeks, and I get on my flight back to Los Angeles. I now live in Vegas, but I was in LA at the time, and I kept seeing all these people wearing masks, and I'm like, "What's going on?"
god.
And like I had no idea that from the time I went into the jungle to the time I got out, there was this new virus thing, and
Oh,
everybody else had masks, and I did it. It was like the very beginning of the pandemic, and people weren't required to wear masks yet, and airports were still functioning as normal. But it was really bizarre.
and production didn't think to maybe let you guys know that this was sort of it
No,
coming to a
yeah,
head. Oh,
I had
wonderful.
no. Actually, what they did tell me, and I remember this, they did say, wanted to let you know before you get out on the day that I got voted out, Kobe Bryant died. And I'm like, oh my God. And like, I'm not even a huge Kobe Bryant fan, but to hear that him and his daughter died, like, it was just like, oh God. I was like, I was already so emotionally vulnerable after losing so much. Like, I was like, they starve you in that experience. I had lost all this weight. I was just like exhausted, but happy to be released. And then like, oh, Oh my God, I'm having flashbacks. And a similar experience happened when I did Celebrity Big Brother UK. They told me when I was getting out, Whitney Houston's daughter has died. And I'm like, oh my God. Oh. I'm like, I don't know why they wanted to tell me that, but they did.
Those are the
and
headlines. Even the
I guess,
pandemic, like the pandemic, we won't mention that part. It's like
yeah, the
that's
pandemic, they
reality
did it.
TV
They
for
did
you.
it. Oh,
So
goodness gracious.
okay, I have to ask you about when you first started blogging because I mean, when you came on the scene, it sort of really changed the whole landscape. Let's be honest, it really did. And when you came up with the idea and you just started doing this, did you have an idea that it would become this machine that it became, or were you like, oh, this sounds fun, let me just get going?
It's insane to me that I'm just so grateful that I'm still here and able to support my family doing my little hobby that turned into this now family run business. My sister works with me as well. She helped coordinate the interview. That she's Barbara.
Barbara.
And I never would have expected any of this because when I started literally over 20 years ago, social media wasn't a thing. Back then it was just MySpace, and Facebook was still for college students only. Facebook had begun that same year, 2004, and I was working at a magazine at the time. And for about 6 months, I kept talking to my. Here's a little bit of life advice, especially if you're a young person listening, or it doesn't matter how old you are. If you are not prepared to get fired from your job, don't tell your coworkers you're thinking of quitting. Because even if you think people are your friends, people have loose lips. People will talk. And maybe I think subconsciously I wanted to get fired because I hated that job. I was working at Star Magazine. And what's weird is, I began blogging as a hobby. It's like, what am I interested in? I'm interested in pop culture. I love music. I love television. I love movies. So that just felt very natural in me to talk about those things. And then I got a job freelancing, covering red carpets for Star Magazine. And then they offered me a full-time job, and I took it because it was really good pay. I'm like, oh my God, wow, holy moly. I had been working before that at a gay magazine, and gay don't pay. Gay don't pay because they don't charge as much for advertising, so they don't pay as much. So I got that job and I hated it right away because they were asking me to do all those things that you would imagine. Like it was around the time that Renee Zellweger was married to Kenny Chesney. They said, go, and she's staying at this hotel on Central Park South. I want you to just follow her. And I'm like, oh, you just felt gross. Or that same time frame was when Russell Crowe got into a fight with a hotel worker at the Bowery, I think, or the Mercer Hotel in Soho. And they're like, oh, you speak Spanish. Go try to speak to the hotel worker that he threw a phone at. And they kicked me out of the hotel and threatened to arrest me. I'm like, oh no, please no. My mother will be so ashamed of me. It was not for me. So I started this little blog as a hobby, not thinking anything would happen because nobody else really was doing what I was doing. I mean, if you think back at 2004, the legacy media, People Magazine, Us Weekly, they were just using their websites as placeholders. Go to people.com to sign up for a subscription to the magazine. Go to usweekly.com to subscribe to the magazine. Nobody was breaking news on their websites in 2004. And there wasn't even a TMZ. TMZ, I think, was inspired by me because the wild thing is, a lot has changed, obviously, over the last 20 years. Life constantly evolving, and social media and the internet evolving even quicker than the pace of like normal life. But one thing remains the same, and that's the speed at which somebody can go viral. Whether it be on the internet or social media now, within a span of just 6 months, my little blog blew up and I was on a TV show talking about what I was doing. And it just, I never would have imagined any of that. And my coworkers at the time at that Star Magazine said, "Oh no, you can't quit. Nobody makes money on the internet." And then another person, you have to have a business plan. And I'm like, a business plan? I went to school for acting. Like I'm not a business person. Like I'm a trained nonsense actor. What about talk about a waste of a degree? Okay. I mean, being trained is a good thing, but spending as much money going to NYU, maybe not so much.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well,
But
it
yeah.
has changed so much, like, and you've made that change. You even publicly have made that change because your show is much different now than it was when you first started. And
Yeah.
I think that the need, like what people want to hear and tune into, has changed so much. So what was there like a turning point where you were like, okay, wait a minute, I have to sort of shift gears?
Well, I agree with the former. I disagree with the latter. I think people, there's a lot of hypocrites out there. Even though I don't operate how I used to, I obviously everybody's entitled to their opinion, but how you express that matters. And I learned over the years, I shouldn't say everything that I'm thinking, one, and two, I need to be mindful of how I say what I'm thinking. And I'm not like the word woke is so triggering for so many people. I'm not this like uber woke person. I like to talk about mindfulness. I am mindful of others. If we're not, we're going to be a world full of Donald Trumps, and I don't want to be that way. Like I want to be considerate of others. Having said that, there's especially a lot of young people who think that any opinion that is critical is bullying. And that's not true. You can express a critical opinion without bullying somebody. Even something as simple as like, Dua Lipa released a new song. I don't like the song. Oh, you should have kept that to yourself. If you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. Well, that's not bullying. That's just my opinion. I didn't say anything about her as being a horrible human being or whatever. So there was a turning point for me, and that was a really long time ago, actually. But I had also been operating for a while. So from 2004 through 2010, I was very Trumpian before Donald Trump was even Donald Trump and what he's become now. Like I just didn't care. I was as wild and loud and shocking on purpose. And the best way to describe it is people may not agree with it, but attention really is a drug. And I was so high on attention, especially because I was being rewarded for what many perceived to be bad behavior. Even me, like I now can acknowledge I should not have done this, that, or the other. And I was getting clicks and views and money. And as somebody who grew up poor and grew up starved for attention, it was like I was high all the time and I just wanted to keep self medicating. I take full accountability for my actions. I knew at the time what I was doing was wrong and I didn't care. And that's super selfish of me. And thankfully, I'm not some Pollyanna now. I'm not pretending to be perfect, but at least I try. At least I'm not making a concerted effort I want to get a rise out of that celebrity. I want to see if they'll respond to me, or I want to upset their fans so that they'll like share my link and comment and whatever. But the turning point was in 2010, after 6 years of being that other way, there was something that I had never seen before, and thankfully we've never seen since then, which was, I forget the exact number, but there was close to over a dozen or maybe even 2 dozen, a lot of gay youth, young teenagers, within the span of 2 or 3 months that were dying by suicide. And it was shocking. And there was this gay journalist, Dan Savage, who created a campaign called It Gets Better. Very simple concept. Older folks making videos for younger people, just sharing their stories and talking about how it gets better. So I got a press release, and I think I was the first public figure to make an It Gets Better video. And I thought, wow, okay, cool. Like in this time of darkness, I'm doing something to share light. But the response that I got to my It Gets Better video really shook me to my core and changed me forever. And it forced me, it pushed me in the direction that I already wanted to go in towards. People were commenting, how dare you? How dare you make it gets better video? You're part of the problem. You're a hypocrite. You're a bully. And that was a big wake up call, because for the longest time, like an addict, I had kept telling my brain all this BS excuses like, I'm just saying what a lot of people are thinking. Or, people don't like what I'm saying, don't read it. Or just, it's a character. Perez is not the real me. But no, like that's like what a psychopath says. It was me. Even if I wanted to disassociate myself from my actions, it was me. And it took that moment to really shake me and snap me out of that and say, all right, I have a decision to make. And I made a decision. It's like, I didn't reinvent the wheel. I just put new rims on it. And I could still be operating in the same space and do it differently. And a lot of people are still going to judge me and look down on me and want to keep me in this prison cell that is the past. But I'm not my mistakes, just like a drug addict is not their addiction. And I hope that maybe I can serve as an example and not the opposite.
Well, yeah, and in your defense, people were loving it. Let's not
Yeah.
forget that part. There was obviously a need. There was a space for it because everybody was tuning in, everybody was loving it until they weren't, right? Until
Well, no, but people still love that.
Well,
That's the
still
thing.
love it.
People still love it.
Yeah.
Like, if and I would not do this, I would not publish this now, and I would have back in the day, but like who's the biggest female, like Margot Robbie, okay? Here we go. Oh God, this is an awful, but I know this is what would happen. If a Margot Robbie sex tape were to leak, everybody would be seeking it out. Privately. Publicly, they might say, "Oh, what an invasion!" But everybody would be seeking it out. They would want to look at the Margot Robbie sex. People are hypocrites.
Yeah.
And the way that people talk about people, or even things like, even just recently, like Ariana Grande promoting Wicked. It's like, oh, she looks sick. She's so unhealthy, and just talking about her body. And it's like, I thought we weren't supposed to talk about women's bodies, but people are still women. It's like, I think we're a little bit better than before, but I don't know if we're that much better, to be honest.
No, and to your point, it was on the news this morning. I was reading about how they're trying to pin the two actresses against each other, saying that Ariana got paid like double. And it's just like, why are we doing this? Why are we?
And Universal released a statement that they got paid equally.
Yeah. It's like, why are we? Let's just hope the women got paid more than the men, because they are the stars of this. But if we're going in that direction, but this pinning of each other, against each other, you're right. I mean, people, they still do it. That's why Daily Mail is still a huge thing, because people do secretly like the mean stuff.
Or like TMZ recently published photos of Liam Payne's body after he fell off a balcony in Buenos Aires.
Yeah.
That was so shocking. Eventually they deleted those pictures, but
Yeah, I was watching you and watching TMZ when that whole thing was going down. That's where I was getting my updates on it. And I was one of the people that saw when they put the pictures up, and I just was like, is this what I'm looking at? It was shocking. And the thing is I wonder if they'll be sued. Like, remember when the fire department or the police department took pictures of Kobe Bryant?
Right. But
Vanessa
they
went after them, right?
I don't think they went after the outlets. They went after the law enforcement officials, I believe, is what they did.
Right,
the ones
for
who took
taking the
photos.
pictures.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you wonder, is there any kind of like repercussions for them posting it like that? Because I would be devastated if I were his parents or family or friends, whatever. It's just, that's such an invasion.
And he's got a son too that's only 7,
Right.
and in the future is gonna look at all of these things. I even having my own children, like, it's changed so much. Like things that are still common for many of the traditional legacy media. Like, for example, I have a no kids policy on my website and on my social media. I won't post photos of any celebrity children unless the parents themselves post it on social media, or they're at an event like a premiere where it's understood that if you're walking a red carpet, that's for your photo to be taken and shared. But like these kids, these celebrity kids at a playground or whatever, like I'm not posting any of that. Or even at the beach with their parents, like I'm not going to share that. Or even recently, going back to Liam Payne, I knew that every other media outlet would be sharing photos and videos from the funeral, but I said I'm not going to do that. I
Oh,
don't want to. I don't want funeral porn. I don't want grief porn. Like that to me is a sacred. I just won't. I didn't do it, even though I knew everybody else would. And like, I'm not patting myself on the back. I'm not perfect, but it's like, and also on the flip side of that, the media is not evil either. Like, there has been this new trend of trying to demonize people through the lens of today for things that they did 20 years ago, like Barbara Walters or even Diane Sawyer, like when interviewing Whitney Houston or Britney Spears. Like, those two interviews come to mind. Or Barbara Walters like asking Ricky Martin, like, "Are you gay?" Like, she straight up asked him that, and that doesn't mean that Barbara Walters was a bad journalist or a bad person. That was what was accepted at that time, and she behaved professionally for that time, and thankfully that's not the case now.
right. No, you're right. It's funny though. You talk about just a little switch of topic about kids not being, photographed, but it's funny because Daily Mail is one that always gets me. They always get me outside my house saying that I'm been seen out and about. And most of the time if I'm outside of my house, I'm in my pajamas, let's be honest. So but they'll put pictures of Nicole on a morning walk. And meanwhile, I'm holding like my daughter's like scooter, and I have her like pink backpack over my shoulder, and I'm walking her to school in my pajamas, and she's cut out of it. So like when
Oh.
you take her out of the picture, I suddenly look like a crazy person.
Well, and the
You know
thing
what
that
I mean?
upsets me too is, they I can see through people. Like, when they repeatedly post photos of Bridget Bridget Nelson, Bridget
Oh,
Fonda, remember her?
uh-huh.
She's been retired. She quit show business for decades now, but they're fat shaming her
Yeah.
by posting photos of her because she doesn't look how she used to. She's not super thin, and who cares? She's not a working actress. She hasn't made movies for decades, and there's no need for you to post her picture. The only reason you're doing it is because you'll get rage engagement and just shock value or whatever. And it's just, ugh.
Yeah, they love
The
doing
British
that.
media. Yeah, the British media are on a whole other. They're like old school Perez still. the
They
British,
are.
the British, yeah.
And you know what I found is that the thing about Daily Mail that would always piss me off is that they do that. They find you and they get you at your worst. They follow you around. They get you at your worst and then post it like you're out running errands, having the time of your life. And it pissed me off. But what would always really make me mad is then every other news outlet would then run the story. And so what I've noticed recently, because they still do it to me, even going through cancer treatment, they're still doing it to me. And I noticed that people are not picking up the story. And
That's
I was
good.
like that I was so thankful for. I just was like, at least not everybody's still a piece of shit. Like, if I wasn't going through cancer, I wouldn't give a shit. They've done it to me always too. They love to fat shame me. They do it to Yasmin. Um, you're right about Bridget Fonda. Uh, they like doing that. But when you're going through something like what I'm going through, and they would follow me to treatment, and I'd be coming out of treatment, not at my local, you know, cafe. It's like, and that's when I really started looking at them sideways and going, no, I don't like you. I am not out running errands. I'm trying to get my mail. This is not how I look. Nicole's out sporting her new short hair. No, no, I crawled out of bed and I'm trying to get my mail. It's like, yeah. So they're the only ones, but I've been really happy to see that other outlets aren't running the story. And I don't know if they're doing that just for me because I've cancer and other people are like, oh my God, wait, they're taking advantage of a cancer patient. But it was refreshing to see that it wasn't on every outlet after that, you know?
So you've been vocal with, obviously, I've been following your cancer journey. Um, was and Dave Coulier recently went
Yeah.
public with his as well. Obviously, a public figure like yourself and Dave Coulier faces the decision. Am I going to be public about this, or will I keep it private? Why did you choose to be public with yours?
Well, here's the thing. So you're right. It's a decision you have to make. And mine was pretty layered because one, that would mean I would have to hide it because how am I going to explain being bald in either the weight gain or the rapid weight loss? Because you can go either way with all the steroids and chemo. How are you going to explain all of that? Then I would be asking my family, my children, friends to lie as well. So that and then part of me was like, I think that covering shit up my whole life is what also led me to be getting sick. I think stress, and I'm a big believer in that, like carrying toxicity around with you can create illness. So I didn't want to add to that. I wanted to be free and open. And then I also wanted people to be able to bring it up to me if they wanted to or not. Like I run into people, and it's like suddenly I have, no hair. I
And
don't want them
you,
to feel uncomfortable.
so you invite those kinds of conversations with acquaintances, like it's not heavy for you, or it's not like, oh, I don't want to talk about this again, or do you say, you know what, I don't want to talk about it now? Like, are you able to shut it off quickly if you want to?
Yes, because most people are really respectful. I had one friend who would always be crying about it, and I had to say, she like knocked on my door one day in tears, and I was like, "Not now, not today." And like, I was like, "I am not here for you today, and I'm sorry, but I can't." And I didn't mean that because most of the time I am there for my friends with it because I understand that they're hurting too. But there's some days I can't. I can't be the crutch. I cannot be the support. Not me. And so yeah, and most people don't. Most people just say, "How are you doing?" How's everything going? Or the good friends say, "Can I help you with something? If you ever need anything, give me a call." Most people don't. So I don't want them to feel uncomfortable if I suddenly have no eyelashes. I'm standing here, and I've got, you
You
see
know
my port, clearly, and they, not sure whether they can say anything or not. It makes it uncomfortable for me then too.
but you getting better is obviously the priority, the number one priority,
Yes.
and
So
doing
yeah,
whatever you need to do.
yeah. And I felt like being open about it was just that was it. Keeping it quiet was just going to add to it. It's going to make it darker than it already is. And I felt like I wanted to share because a lot of people really kind of gloss over it. And it's like, oh, you're so strong. Oh, you're doing so great. You're kicking ass. There's so much more to it than that. And I just wanted to sort of be a sounding board for other people who can watch my videos in private that aren't so willing to talk about it, or have or the people keeping it quiet and they want to hear and they want to relate. So I kind of wanted to do that too.
I think it's really powerful, not just inspiring, but also healing to people that are also going through the same thing. Because then it's like, wow, I'm not alone, or or whatever they might be feeling. Like, I just saw this one. Oh, it broke my heart. She's in her early 20s. This girl on TikTok. I forget her name, but I just started following her recently. She had a really rare form of cancer and had to have an arm amputated because that's what she had to do. And it's like, oh goodness.
Ugh.
And she's sharing her story and her journey, but also she's sharing it because of necessity. And it sucks that she feels like she needs to earn extra money because not everything is covered. And that's just sad and frustrating that our, like, I'm sure you're maybe having help advocating for you with like the medical system. It's like, it shouldn't be a fight to get better.
No, it's not, and it's financially draining as fuck. I mean, it is. It's crazy because you also like. She's lucky if she can bring in some income from doing it because she's a TikTok or whatever. I don't make any money from anything I do online. I'm not. I'm just not there yet. That's not. I don't. I just don't. I don't generate any income. So it's like really frustrating to not be able to work and like have money. Just like
You
it's.
should start are you on TikTok?
I did. I started one, and then
Okay, all
a
right,
lot of it was like my cancer video. So now I want to switch it and make it a little happier. I want it to be a
all right.
happier place to go.
What's your screen name on there so everybody can follow you?
It's me, Nicole Eggert, I think. Yeah, it's
Is there like an
you
under,
can,
just your name, no underscore, nothing like that?
yeah, no, just my name.
Okay, everybody make sure you're following because I think after like 10,000 subscribe followers, you can start monetizing on there.
Well, I get these things that are like somebody wants to collab with you, but then I can never click on it. I don't really understand the way it works, and I'm not like technically ignorant at all by any means, but I don't get it, and I think that maybe some of it is spammy. So yeah,
Okay.
maybe I don't have 10,000 followers yet. I'm at
After
like
you get
under 8,000.
10,000, there's a thing called the creator fund.
Okay.
So you don't have to collaborate with anybody, and a lot of people are able to make just a full-time living on TikTok. It's pretty impressive.
Okay. All right. I see these are things I need to learn more about. Yeah, I was kind of late to the game on TikTok, but I definitely get way more views. That's such a different world over there. I was like, whoa, wait, what just
And I'm
happened?
sure, and now I'm in like consulting mode. People nostalgia also would do very well. So if you want to do content about your former gigs, this job and that job and stories about that, like all that stuff does very well as well. So and
Okay.
anything really, whatever, just consistency, like posting once a day at least.
Yeah. It's interesting too, because on this journey, I was like, I'm going to document everything, the good, the bad, all of it. And I have documented a lot that I don't show. And then I found myself, um, ironically, living in the moment and forgetting to pick up the camera all the time now. So like I've become less inclined to pick up the camera than I was before when my whole mission was to record everything. And I keep finding myself going, "Oh, damn it. You should record this. Why are you not recording?" Even at my daughter's like cheer competitions, I forgot to pick out the phone at all. I was like so excited to be there and living in the moment. And yeah, I've reverted back to that. So yes,
Well,
yeah.
that's probably a change for me. It's like I'm like I'm not living in the moment. I'm living in the future, which is probably one of the reasons why I get anxiety. I think that what's that expression, like people who obsess with the past are prone to depression, and people who obsess with the future are prone to anxiety. So it's like
Yeah.
I can't stop thinking about tomorrow or the day or like this, that, or the other. It's like, and then also like Mike, you mentioned your daughter. I have 3 kids. I was so blissfully ignorant. Like before I had children, I never had anxiety until I had children,
Oh,
and then everything changed. My first real anxiety attack, like like the chemicals. Like my son was my firstborn, who's going to be 12 in a couple of months. He was born 4 weeks early, and I had a surrogate, and I wasn't ready. I wasn't planned. I'm like, wait. I haven't finished the nursery. Like, I haven't packed my bag to go to the hospital. Like, and like for like an hour, I kept walking around in a circle. I'm like, wait a minute, I'm not like. And then I started to try to pack the bag, the suitcase, and I would put like my socks, and then walk around in a circle for 5 minutes, and then like, wait, what's going on? And then now it's like anxiety is like a thing that is a constant in my life, but I'm
yeah.
not crippled by it. I mean, sometimes I am. Some days sometimes I am. It can be really. I can't focus, and it's but I wake up every morning, cheesy as it sounds, just so grateful. I have so much gratitude for everything, for my family, for the fact that I'm still able to provide for them. The fact that even though like I was almost crying to my son the other day because I just felt really guilty. Like I work from home and that's a blessing, but it's also a curse because like I still have to work and I work hard and I work a lot. Like I haven't worked. The more years have passed, oh God, I haven't seen my therapist in a while. I feel like a hamster in a hamster wheel, and it's like I'm afraid to get off of it. Like, what's going to happen if I get off the hamster wheel? But you know, I don't have fu money in the bank. Most Americans don't. Most
Right.
people. I've read this. I forget the exact number, but the majority of Americans live paycheck to paycheck. That's just our world now, and I still have to provide for my family. So that's why, the Cuban work ethic in me, I still push myself because it's not like I'm working any less hard than when I started. It's the opposite. I'm working even harder. To
Yeah.
keep that hamster wheel going, you have to start doing all these other things. Like 2 weeks ago, I freaking joined Blue Sky, which is like the new
Yeah.
Twitter alternative or X alternative. I didn't join because I wanted to. I joined because like, oh fudge.
There's
This is
another
like where
one.
people are going.
Yeah.
Well, this is a new thing, and I have to join it. So I joined it, and it's like but you know what? I did it, and I definitely think that adaptability and pivoting has helped me still be on the D
Love it.
list all these years later. At least I'm on the list.
No, for sure. Legend.
I'm still on the list. I'm not an it girl anymore, but you know what? I don't say that with any resentment. Like I had a great run as an it girl where I was hot, but now I'm an icon, and I'm in my icon era. Icons don't need to be hot,
That's
like
right.
I don't know, like Julianne Moore. Julianne Moore doesn't have a large social media following, but she's an Oscar nominated actress.
Yeah.
She's an icon. Even
Yeah.
if 18-year-olds don't know who Julianne Moore is, for example. But
They know.
Magnolia is one of my favorite movies of all time.
I think it's a lot of our favorite movie. It's funny that you say that. My Facebook got hacked last week. I was locked out of my face. Somebody was in there. They changed the phone number, the email, they gave their ID, all of this shit, right? And I was locked out of it. And part of me really didn't care. Part of me was like, probably just took a lot off my plate of having to post on Facebook. And then the other part of me was like, I felt like, oh, am I disconnected now? It's weird how social media can have a hold on you like that. Like I don't really care about social media until it was taken away from me until I wasn't allowed to go on my own page. Yeah, it's a funny thing. So Blue Skies I've been saying to myself I need to go sign up, and I haven't done it. So good on you that you've done it. But yeah, it's what everybody's talking about. I never did Threads. Did you do Threads?
I am. I'm everywhere.
Everywhere.
I do it all. Actually, the biggest gift for me this year has been, I thought for a while there that YouTube was dead, but I've
Mhm.
made YouTube a priority this year, and my YouTube has really popped off in 2024. So I'm like, wow, YouTube's not dead, and thank you YouTube because you can monetize YouTube. So Perez Hilton on YouTube.
Yeah. For sure. I know YouTube went through a moment where it wasn't like people felt like they were
Yeah.
spinning their wheels over there. And yeah, I think it's caught back up again.
It
Yeah.
has. They're constantly tweaking the algorithms and this and the other, and actually, I think one of the reasons why YouTube, for a while there, it was murky, but YouTube has captured the young audience in a way that TikTok hasn't. TikTok is good with like teenagers, but YouTube has like kids because of YouTube Kids. They start with YouTube Kids, and then they're like at 9 or 10. Like I'm like, why are you watching people playing games on YouTube? I don't understand that. Like
It's a
kids
thing.
love watching others play games, and it's
And
very
open
popular.
toys. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. My daughter just went through her like this huge stuffy collection that she's had. And some of them I was like, do you know how hard it was to get that stuffed animal? Because you watch some kid make it on YouTube,
But she
and it was
got
like
rid of
some mom and pop shit. And yeah,
she got rid of them.
now she's done with it.
Oh, how old is your daughter?
Well, she's 13 now, so,
Okay.
you
Wow, a
know.
teenager.
Yeah, well, my oldest is 20. She's oh god. She was
26.
born in 98. She's 26.
Oh,
26.
26?
Yes.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, 26.
What
'Cause
does she do?
she lives in New York, and she right
Oh.
now works for Periscope Records, and she does all the merch for all the bands,
Oh,
and they have all the big bands over
cool.
there. Yeah. Yeah,
I
she's
love
always more in
that.
the fashion, e-commerce. Um, she likes a lot of like vintage fashion. Yeah, that's her that's her thing. So,
That's the thing. It's like I, I've learned also as I've gotten older, which is a hard thing for me because I'm such a control freak. I learned to just accept. I'm much more accepting, and even though I obsess about the future, that's because I'm a control freak. I also have faith in everything will work out. I have faith in myself and in my work ethic. And just, I was having dinner the other night with this woman who works at a hotel here in Vegas, and both of her kids were born and raised in Las Vegas, and they're now in their mid 20s, and they both moved to Los Angeles. And I'm like, well, if my kids all move to LA or to New York, I'm freaking moving there too. Like, I will be that. I'm that parent. I will follow my kids wherever they go. I mean, it's a little bit more challenging for you because you have a younger one too.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
yeah, I will.
No,
I
we
will
talk
be
about it. She always
following.
tries to get me to move to Miami or something like that, which now she's chilled out on the Florida thing because of the climate we're in. But for a while, she was like, "Mom, there's Florida." There's because she knows that I can't live without the beach. Like it's my thing. It's just my place. I can go and all my problems go away. Um, so I can't really live far from it.
You see, I lived in Los Angeles for 20 years. I did my time. I I grew up in Miami. Like Miami Beach compared to Santa
Yeah.
Monica or Venice, it's freezing in California. The water's always cold, even in the summer. So it's like I never want to get in it. Like, what's the point? I never went to the beach. I mean, I would go to the beach in LA once a year, maybe. I don't miss a single thing about Los Angeles. I am so you should move to Vegas.
I
I'm
know. I know. Well,
trying to get everybody here.
it's funny because I was born and raised here. So for me, it's home, and that's why I stay. No other reason really, except for the beach. There's beaches everywhere. It's because it's home, and so I kind of had this weird, this like this apprehension of detaching from it. But and my youngest keeps me here. It's like I
Wait,
tried when she was leaving elementary school and going into middle school. I was like, we could move, we could go anywhere. She was like, nope, I want to stay right here with my friends and my cheer team. And I was like, oh,
I
I
just
knew
had
it.
another I just had another thought because I don't know if it might be difficult for you now, but normally, like prior to cancer, would you do conventions like cons?
Yeah, I do
Okay.
sometimes. I just did one. We did like
Oh,
a
good, good.
Baywatch. Yeah, I do those occasionally. Yeah, for sure,
Because
for
that could
sure.
be, those are lucrative. I know people that do them all the time.
Yeah,
Even people that weren't like big stars. Like, I won't mention names because I don't want to make them feel bad, but like this random person on the Vampire Diary, not my friend Kat, somebody else who was also on the Vampire Diaries. She's like, I'm going to France now to do this commitment. I'm like, wow, all right. And you've been on a lot of iconic shows. You've done a lot of
yeah.
like big things.
I know. I want to get in. There's big ones that are like surrounded by the about the 90s, like they're famous
Yeah.
90s. I want to
Yep.
get. I
Yep.
haven't gotten in on one of those yet, but yeah, I do
We'll
do some.
manifest that. We'll
Yeah,
manifest that.
yeah, for sure. For sure. Okay, so tell us one funny story before we leave here because I want to know who comes to your mind when you say you really pissed someone off and like you got into it back and forth. Like who have you really cuz
Oh
the
God,
hypocrite over here. I want to hear this shit. I want to
so
hear
many, so many people. I mean,
who's a standout one that like
probably Roseanne, which probably is not that shocking to people because she's a little out there.
mhm.
Uh, this was she posted on social media. This is back when I think she used to have a farm in
Yeah.
Hawaii
Yeah, she
or
did.
some house in Hawaii. Yeah, yeah. She said something like, "I want to kidnap Perez Hilton and take him to my farm in Hawaii and I forget and like kill him or like butcher him or something like that. Like, oh my God, wow, okay, all right, geez, you're very triggered. Okay.
Doesn't get
Uh,
darker than that.
yeah, my God, I don't remember the specifics. I'm blanking out purposefully, probably, but it was not pretty. But you
Roseanne
know
gonna
what?
pop Perez up.
I wanna circle back to something that you said. I want to circle back to the beginning of your show today, and maybe I'm a cynic or jaded, but I'm still an optimist and hopeful. I've talked about hope with you. I don't want. I'm making the choice not to demonize people who voted for Donald Trump, and I did back in 2016 when he beat Hillary Clinton. I was like, I can't believe, because I think this is a big wake up call, and so many more people voted for him this time around. It's like, why? The question is why. We got to really dig into that. And I think for me, I'm going back to the Thanksgiving conversation. I grew up in Miami, and you may not be aware of this, but the majority of Cubans in America, and I'm Cuban, the majority of the Cubans that are here are Republican. And I'm not. Uh, so that's an interesting thing. And it's like, I still love my family, even if I don't agree with them on politics. And that's the other big thing that's changed. When I began 20 years ago, and for the longest time, it was showbiz, showbiz. But now, politics is the new showbiz. And
Yeah.
it's just like, oh, politics is showbiz for so many people. And I'm like, and that's one of the reasons I think Donald Trump did so well. He's a showman.
Yeah.
Politics is show business. And it's like, no, it's not. It's like how things should work and function. And but
World.
I want to I want to send peace for Thanksgiving for everybody, and more understanding, because I do think at the end, and actually that's I think being in Vegas has helped open my mind to that. I'm not quite in the bubble of Los Angeles with just like-minded people. Vegas has a lot more conservative folks, and I'm friends with them. Like, oh, we can be friends. Like, I don't have to cut you off because you don't agree with this policy or that or the other. Like, I think as Americans, or just as human beings alive on this planet, we all have more in common than we do apart. That we have more things that unite us than don't.
100%. And I'm with you. I grew up in Huntington Beach a lot, which is very conservative. And
Yes.
so I've been around both sides a lot. And I'm with you. Where I get crazy and where I'll delete somebody or block somebody is when they start talking like, I hated the comments of like, I haven't seen a man beat a woman that bad since blah, 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 blah. Or if they do like transgender shaming, when it's like the women shaming, the women rights shaming, gay shaming, all any kind of like shaming like that, or racism, I can't. I have to put my foot down there, and I'm not gonna. It's my Facebook. I do not want to read your shit, and I will block it from my view because it just upsets me. So, but as far as just for political choices, I'm with you. Like, yeah, lots of my friends are conservative. It's the way it is. Yeah, we have to accept everyone. Thank you so much for coming on. It's like such a moment for me because I've been a big fan, and I've always watched the shows and followed. And
Likewise. Yeah. Well, I'm sending you all of the positive vibes. Here, I'm not even a crystals person, but I do believe in energy. So sending you some positive vibes.
Nice.
Here.
Oh. Well, you have a wonderful Thanksgiving, and appreciate you both. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Bye-bye. That was cool. That was cool. I say that all the time. We have a guest. For me, I always enjoy the guest, Nicole. For me, it's people that I get to know. And so, obviously, you have a relationship with so many people that have been great guests, but I think it's great for audience as well. If it's someone that you're curious to know. I enjoyed the fact that he said that the evolution of what it was when he started, where he is now in his life, because just from my standpoint, I was in radio in the 90s. And then in the 90s, Howard Stern was a big deal. And, you heard the term shock jock. And so the idea was, how do you become as famous as Howard Stern or get that kind of audience to get behind you? And when I look back at the stuff that was said, even on my show, which was basically a sports show or a hot topic show, depending on whatever format we were in, man, there's a lot of stuff I'm embarrassed about, the topics we discussed or the way we would evaluate, women's bodies and just like that. And in my house, I have so many old shows, on tape, even. And I look at those boxes and I would say in my head, I got to get rid of these. Like, I got to burn them, throw them away, because honest to God, not because I'm going to go back and listen and be horrified. I don't want my future grandchildren to ever go back and listen to that.
Well, you can't erase history.
Embarrassed.
You can't erase history. You really can't.
I don't
But
know. If you
like, I
live in
think it's
Florida, you can. You can if you live in Florida. They're taking everything out of the books. So anything that
apparently.
looks bad, we're taking that out.
Yeah,
Yes.
apparently so. Yeah. But no, you have to. And I thought he brought up a great point of like, with journalists too, asking the questions back in the day, you have to put the time frame into perspective when judging.
Yeah.
If you are so inclined to judge on those types of things, we have to really like put it into perspective.
Absolutely. No,
Yeah.
absolutely right. You want to get to your 5 questions?
It's a long show, no?
It's a long show. We could cut it short if you want. We can cut it short right now. It is a long show. It's
Yeah,
Thanksgiving.
let's cut it short. Let me get to cooking.
Okay, you got it.
And
A lot
save the
going on, of
questions.
course.
Yeah.
Yes, we'll save them.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thanks for joining us. And listen, we talked about YouTube. Go check us out on YouTube if you can, if so inclined, and give us a subscribe or a like, or you know what else is you can leave us a review. I was sort of looking at the page and we don't have many reviews anymore. So if you love us or hate us, let us know.
Happy
Appreciate
Thanksgiving,
it.
Nicole.
Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.